Hi everyone, I'm Lara and I was a debater for St. Bridget's Convent and currently I'm coaching the junior debate pool of St. Bridget's Convent. Today I'm going to be breaking down the round 3 motion of the NMP's tournament 2024 organized by Ananda College, and the motion reads, "This house regrets the glorification of discipline." So what I'm going to be discussing in this breakdown is essentially explaining the setup and the argumentation that both proposition and opposition should discuss in this debate. So moving on to side proposition, you need to understand the nuance of this motion. You need to understand that this is a retrospective motion and you need to prove that without glorification, the world will be a better place. You need to prove that ops impacts can still exist because other narratives exist in the world. So like self-discipline, work-life discipline, academic discipline can still be obtained because other narratives will support it. The narrative that you have to be academically successful as a student to be successful in your future endeavors. The narrative that you as an employee must emulate your company values and uphold a sense of professionalism, because at the end of the day, your company is paying you for the labor you give, for the work you do for them. So these sort of narratives are going to exist and they're going to ensure that discipline is still upheld in society. So two burdens that side proposition should tackle. Firstly, you need to prove that status quo is bad, and that is through your argumentation. And secondly, you need to mechanize your retrospective and prove that without glorification, you can ensure better mental health stability, safer classroom and family, workplace environments, and this should all be drawn through your impacts. So your first line of argumentation should revolve around why you regret this glorification. Why? Because it compromises human values. The moment discipline is placed on a pedestal, other human and moral characteristics are going to take second and third place. They are not going to be treated as equal. These characteristics look like self-dignity and integrity. So your premise of the argument should look like this. Look, punishments at school and backlashes at workplace can take away your self-dignity and identity as a human who can make mistakes. For example, at school, if you are being punished by your teacher for not being able to do your homework, they may call you names. Your teacher might make you kneel in front of the entire class. This is going to make you feel embarrassed and humiliated, thus taking away your self-dignity. And it kind of paints this picture that all humans should be infallible creatures. This is harmful. This is where you draw out your impacts. This leads to the deterioration of mental well-being, the fear of taking risks and showcasing creativity. And all of this will inherently suppress a person's capability to express themselves and be innovative. Why are these impacts bad? This jeopardizes that efficient future and present workforce. This is going to compromise their well-being that can negatively affect their personal and professional lives. And it's going to hinder societal progress because people lack the thinking out of the box and problem solving skills due to rigid systems that they come from. Why? Because you need to follow ABC of the disciplinary standards held by that certain institution. Thus, this argumentation proves that glorification does more harm and good on a both personal and professional and societal level as well. Then moving on to your second line of argumentation on the normalization of authoritarian attitudes. So when discipline is idealized, it comes with a top-down approach where obedience and conformity are valued over individual autonomy of a person. This will eventually foster authoritarian attitudes and reduce that democratic engagement of a family, school, workplace, society as a whole. So the premise of your argument should be look, societies with a strong emphasis on discipline often have high instances of authoritarian governance and less civic participation or less individual participation, and this can lead to rather autocratic individuals or dictators who almost weaponize discipline to keep order. So this will eventually instill fear, anxiety and stress and create toxic family environments, school environments, workplace environments that can deter the individuality and free thinking of a person. So what are the impacts of this? So the development of democratic values and individual freedom in a society is impeded, and this will lead to a more controlled society but a less open one. So there's going to be concentration of power without accountability. You're going to have like strict parents, strict like principal, teachers, employers, and like state officials who will like weaponize discipline and will be like, look, because you didn't follow ABC of our disciplinary standards, you are not successful, you are a useless individual in our like in society. They are able to assert power over like vulnerable people, and they won't be held accountable for this. Then what happens? There's going to be corruption and like abuse of power on opposition side, because discipline is glorified to that idealized extent. So why are these impacts bad? Because this leads to like the lack of freedom, accountability, inclusivity and this will like weaken individual and societal structures needed for long-term stability and growth in society. And glorification of discipline like tampers with society's capacity for like creativity, tolerance, and resilience in the face of like challenges and problems and whatnot. And people and individuals will become like robotic or puppeteered by these authoritarian figures, and their individuality will be stripped off. You're going to be puppeteered by a strict disciplinarian parents, by a strict like principal who is obsessed with like discipline and ensuring like high discipline is upheld in school. So these sort of reasons is going to strip off your individuality. You are unable to be creative and innovative because these authoritarian figures exist, and you should follow what their standards of discipline, what they believe are like the higher standards of discipline. Then thirdly, your argumentation is just going to tackle on what your retrospective looks like. You need to like explain in the debate that look, there are other narratives that exist. This is like what I explained earlier, right? That you can be academically and professionally successful without this glorification. How? You can like discipline yourself in order to receive opportunities and support. You need to like, a person should understand that look, if I don't discipline myself, if I don't sit down and like study 6 hours a day, I'm not going to get into a good university, and thereby I'm not going to get like a wider variety of job opportunities. This narrative itself is going to instill discipline in a person. You don't need to like push like discipline down people's throats for them to be successful, in order for them to be successful. Because other narratives exist. Things like, even in the workplace, where you as an individual, as an employee, you believe that, look, if I need to get a promotion, if I want to get a promotion in this company, I need to work hard. I need to make sure that I show up to work every day at like sharp 7 o'clock when the office opens. These sort of things can instill and inculcate and like cultivate discipline without like glorifying discipline on a higher pedestal. Right? Then you have like balanced perspectives, where you can have like holistic educational systems and have like alternative approaches to maintaining discipline without having like those negative reinforcements, where you like highlight the importance of discipline in order to work effectively alone or like as a team. And this will generate better outcomes without the need for strict discipline. This looks like putting your children in like clubs, sports, or like group projects, so that they understand the importance of working together with like other people. This is going to build discipline. This is going to help them like respect one another without like that mental like deterioration that glorification of discipline brings. So what are the impacts of this? So when discipline is upheld with like that by internalizing like values brought forward by other narratives, this is sustainable and no one is going to be punished or ridiculed. So self-dignity is going to persist on side proposition, and your identity as an individual who can make mistakes and learn from it through natural consequences rather than like from disciplinarians can instill like discipline much productively without glorifying it. Like you as a student, if you don't sit down and study for 6 hours and you fail your exams, you are then faced by the natural consequences of not getting into a good university, or not getting like those good like job opportunities that you would have received if you did well in your examinations. So those natural consequences are going to instill discipline, and you don't need like the glorification of discipline in order to make people efficient and productive. Then moving on to side opposition. So side opposition's characterization should look like this. So you need to paint to like the judge, or like paint at the debate, that with the world becoming more liberal, narratives aren't listened to by some people. Narratives aren't listened to like mostly, aren't listened by mostly the younger generation. So first, without that glorification, the balance between like liberalism and pushing down like discipline, pushing discipline down people's throats is going to disappear as a whole. Secondly, why is this bad? When discipline loses its like motivational and aspirational role, this will like lead to potential decline in personal and societal achievements in schools, companies, and like states are going to lose out on productive and efficient population. So your first line of argumentation is going to look like this. Discipline as a foundation for success. You need to prove that discipline equals success. So with people being more liberal due to like ideas such as the accident of birth, they are going to lack that motivation to succeed academically and professionally. So the premise of your argument should look like discipline instills like habits of perseverance, time management, and goal setting, and these qualities are crucial for individuals to reach their full potential and achieve their goals. And you cannot achieve it without that glorification of discipline. So what are your impacts? The development of self-discipline, right? Which is essential for long-term success and like personal development. So if people like, if they don't have that motivation that glorification essentially brings, self-discipline and like its benefits that side proposition brings out cannot be obtained. If you don't have the motivation to be academically successful, regardless of whatever narrative exists, you're not going to have self-discipline. You need to have those standards of discipline inculcated in a child, inculcated in your employee, if you want them to be motivated, if you want them to be encouraged to do their absolute best, right? Thus, glorification is good because firstly, on a ground root level, you're going to have educational success. This is going to create like disciplined educational environments, which will inherently bring better academic outcomes. Then you're going to have disciplined workforces, which will bring economic growth and like financial growth and productivity. And this will lead to both an individual and societal success. So that's it for your first argument. Then your second line of argumentation should be on like societal order and productivity. You need to say like, look, societies that emphasize on discipline have better functioning institutions, higher productivity, and lesser chaos. And because of that, discipline proves that it ensures that people follow rules and work towards common goals. So the premise of your argument looks like this, that the idea of discipline becomes subjective, or in other words, like different to one another, when you don't have that glorification in the equation, right? So what are the impacts of this? Without glorification, you can't like encourage people to perform to their best level. This will lead to like insufficient productive individuals who lack like that respect and structure. This will increase irresponsibility and ultimately lead to like poor performance, misconduct, and like absenteeism. So an example for this, okay, you as a child, if you do not have like discipline pushed down your throat, you're going to think that, okay, if I want to be academically successful, I need to discipline myself, and that's by me sitting at home and not showing up at school at all in order to pass my exams. That is not what discipline essentially means. You need to be able to balance your like home life and your school life all together. And because this child thinks that, I am being a disciplined individual by sitting at home and concentrating on my studies, like this isn't what like discipline is supposed to uphold, right? This is why like without the glorification of discipline, you're not going to have people on that same like mindset. People are going to have different views of discipline, right? So thereby, as opposition, you should like thereby it proves that like glorification is good because it doesn't risk the breaking down of like mindsets. It doesn't risk the breakdown of like hierarchical structures which are necessary for like effective functioning. So you have less people who settle for like mediocrity and like lack of ambition, because glorification sees to the importance of adhering to those high standards. So you as a student, you have been like certain disciplinary standards have been set by your school and your home, that if you follow, then you will be like a successful individual, then you will be scouted by like in like universities and jobs if you are able to like follow those high standards of discipline. So because of all these reasons, that glorification is essential, and that glorification has its benefits. Then thirdly, opposition can bring out your worst case that will be brought up by proposition about authoritarian figures. Now you can have that like weighing metric and say, look, on our side, like our worst case, opposition's worst case is still going to be better than proposition's best case, which their best case will be like, okay, discipline individuals without glorification. Your worst case is still better because proposition won't have that set framework for success and stability. You won't have like individuals who will work towards success on like common terms. They're going to work towards success on their own terms, and this can be harmful for like individuals and companies. Thereby, like prop cannot maintain a sense of order that like benefits all stakeholders. So on op, though like okay, some authoritarian figures can be quite controlling, their ultimate goal is to reach like maximum efficiency and productivity. In return, this will benefit like individuals with personal and professional success, economic success, and that's going to lead to like better standard of living for individuals, right? Then that is all for side opposition. Then for clashes, both sides can like debate on like individual well-being versus societal productivity. Then secondly, on like democratic values versus authoritarian efficiency. And then lastly, you can just weigh on punitive measures versus like positive reinforcements. So with these clashes, if you're able to like weigh your side and like compare both counterfactuals efficiently, then based on what side you are on, you are able to like win the debate and get the win, right? So that is it for this discussion. I hope you guys were able to get some input on this motion, and I will see you guys again for the next breakdown.